You okay hearing on screen now? For whatever reason, maybe this is a prep. So I'm going to talk about way-seeking mind. I'm going to talk about bodhicitta. And what are we really doing here anyway? And this story just popped in my mind, which I've told before, is many, many years ago. My son, who's much wiser now, this is when he was like a teenager or something. And Bruce and I are both practitioners, and he was born at Green Gulch, and I mean, he'd been around this for a long time. And he said something like, "Doesn't it ever bother you that you've been practicing so long and you're still so confused?" I mean, he's got front row seats, right? Yeah. But I bet you've asked yourself that yourselves. People say, I mean, I got these, I've been doing this for 5 years, 20 years, 40 years, 50 years. And you know what? Same old me. I remember Norman Fisher saying to me when he founded Everyday Zen, because we knew each other back in the day when we were young and practicing together at Zen Center, said something like, "I'm just as neurotic as I used to be, but I'm more aware of it now."
Ooh, that's good.
So the question then becomes, so what is the path? And what is this waking up? What is this enlightenment thing that we talk about? And what is it that, like Suzuki Roshi said, it's like walking in a light fog or rain and you just gradually get wet all the way through. Something happens, but you don't know what happened. And of course it's happening, it's a verb. And how? So some of this I shared in Sangha maybe the week before, I can't remember, but I like it so much I'm going to do it again. There's a talk by Suzuki Roshi about way-seeking mind that it's going to be in the newsletter, the transcript of it, because it's so simple and it's so, I think, brilliant, because it's so normalizing. I was just saying to someone, what I love about the transcripts of Suzuki Roshi, I mean, they're written out, but they put in parentheses, laughs, laughing, laughs, laughing. And I just think he must have been so delighted. I mean, I don't know, but because I feel the delight to practice with people, that he came from Japan and he showed up and suddenly people were sitting with him and interested and trying to figure it all out and to get to practice with other human beings. To wake up together is a joy in the midst of, you've been doing this for a long time, aren't you? What's wrong with you that you're not a little more, that you're still so confused? Come on, we do that to ourselves. It's like, how many times have I done that one? Okay, so Suzuki Roshi, one of the things he says, our way-seeking mind is Buddha mind. Our practice makes sense when you practice with Buddha mind or way-seeking mind. So here's the clue. This is what makes it all make sense. Usually when we say the way-seeking mind or Doshin, which is Do-shin, which is Tao mind, also means Bodhi, Bodhisattva mind. Not only to help ourselves, but also to save or to help others. The strong nuance of this kind is always there when we say Doshin. That you're doing this for yourself, and you also know, little by little along the way, that you take care of this very life, and in taking care of this life, you are taking care of the whole world. And that it's really important, because we do care. I remember as a child an innate sense of wonder. Children have that. And I also remember as a child knowing there was suffering. I just knew that there was joy and pain around me. And of course, in my particular situation, maybe others, especially the pain part of it, nobody would acknowledge, which is why I became so angry and rebellious. It's like, you can't tell me half the world. I don't believe you. But of course, you can only know true happiness and joy to the degree that you're willing to look at both the light and the shadow, which is why I became a therapist. And then in the end, it was like, let's just sit down together and breathe in and out. And what arises, what brings us to the cushion? Way-seeking mind, bodhisattva mind, is rooted in what is called bodhicitta. The Tibetans bring that forward so clearly. And if we have time at the end, I have a meditation from Pema Chodron on bodhicitta. But bodhicitta is the arising in our hearts, or more and more, it's already there. It's like the sun shining through the fog, of just a deep-hearted caring. That's our innate nature. We do know love. We do know kindness. We do know care. And then we all get a little confused and a little hurt. Things happen along the way. And it's so important. And it's what Sangha and practice. So what is the most important thing? And you can have different answers at different times. But maybe in a trite and alive way, the most important thing is love. But let's find out what that means, so that it's all inclusive, so it doesn't leave anything out. Which is waking up to who we truly are and to the nature of all things, that everything is flowing in and out of everything else. And that our state of mind and speech and actions really do matter. It turns and affects everything. So there is defined relative bodhicitta and absolute bodhicitta. Relative bodhicitta, in this relative world of dualities. Waking up right here in this whole beautiful mess. How else in the world are we going to learn compassion if we're not in our own bodies and we're not willing to experience the truth of this life? Because it's teaching us all the time. Absolute bodhicitta. It's already here. The true nature of everything is luminous, is beyond interconnected, because it just is. It's radiant. It's before form. But form is emptiness, emptiness is form. You can't tease them apart. But we can talk about them as separate things, because it really does help us, I think, make sense. And to bow. I think that there's a San Francisco Zen Center on the dining room door. There's a picture of the story is, as I understand it, it's Suzuki Roshi's hands bowing in Gasho. And that it's bringing together the relative and the absolute. It's always just right here. Just bow. Just bow. When I am bound inside my own skin, and you're bound in your skin out there, it's primal, it's survival. I want to defend myself, I want to protect myself. You're going to hurt me. Something's going to happen. I better be watching out here. I mean, we all grew up in this world. We all have survival instincts. And as we practice, and have insight, there are moments of opening, a sense of isness and mutuality, where there is more and more an experience that I literally am you and you are me. And then more and more love and compassion as a spontaneous response. Sometimes we surprise ourselves. I surprise myself sometimes. It's like, wow, instead of that old reactive thing, something came forward. Something just arose. That's Buddha mind. That's Bodhichitta mind. That's way-seeking mind that's trying to find its way in this world to be who I know I am and you are. That we're loving, kind beings, generous and patient, wanting to wake up and care and be wise. But compassion as me over here, being compassionate to you over there, is pretty clunky and difficult, and pretty soon we become exhausted. It's like, who thought this bodhisattva thing was a good idea anyway? I just want to go take a nap. Naps are fine, but... but Dogen, dropping body and mind, Zazen. We sit down, we breathe out. We completely disappear at the end of the exhale. On the inhale, receive just this very moment. You may think, what a great moment I just received. Wow, this is a great room, great people. Or you may, just like my knee really hurts, and I'm really pissed because of what happened before I left and came here today. And besides, have you read the news? And do you know about Maui? And just keep coming back. Because more and more we do have the taste. Zazen is the embodiment of it. Zazen living. So I begin and end right here, and in Zazen body, I know that, and I don't know where I begin or end. It's physical. It's energetic. This isn't some nice fairyland story. It's true in the deepest sense. And bodhicitta is the arising and the expression of that more and more in our everyday lives. And it takes time and it takes effort. Sorry. But you're not going to get bored. It gives you something to do for your whole life and beyond. And you're going to fall down and you're going to get up. You're going to make mistakes. Oh, thank you, Buddha. What a ripe, juicy mistake I just made. Take the backward step. This moment, this moment. This is the path of way-seeking mind. This is the path of the Zazen way of living. So absolute compassion is compassion in the light of emptiness. We'll use that word. That everything is already free and awake. All beings are empty of any inherent self-existence, already liberated and pure. It's more what our intuitive body might sense, but not what our minds tell us. Our conditioned mind. Big mind knows this. Relative compassion of human warmth and practical emotional support that arises out of our experience, our own experience of suffering, and then of course we want to extend it to others. Absolute compassion is what helps sustain us when it just feels tired and disappointing and oy, and what a mess am I, and what a mess the world is, and we just keep plunging in. So I've edited this a lot. Suzuki Roshi's talk about way-seeking mind. He's going to, at a certain point, and I want to say it because I don't want to forget it. I forgot to bring it. There was an article, there's a new book out that says that American politics is rooted in disappointment. That like we get all jacked up. It's like, whoa, racism, we're going to end it. Whoa, no more war. No, And what a surprise! Things change, but there's war, we discriminate, which doesn't mean we shouldn't try, but it's really important to look at our minds and to look at our way of being, because Rebecca Solnit talks about this as I remember, she says, like, liberals never let themselves just rest where they are. It's like something changed, but it wasn't good enough, and it's not enough. Disappointing. I'm a pretty nice person, but I disappoint myself all the time. The world, it's like, what are you going to do then? Take a breath. Come back. Because it's large and wide and open, and of course we have to keep trying. Of course. That's way-seeking mind, that's bodhicitta. But what's the background, the foreground, the ground out of which we're practicing, and this is arising? This is so important. Okay, so Suzuki Roshi. When we feel the evanescence of life, light, empty, isness, moving, changing, or when we have a problem for ourselves, the weight, the suffering, facing this is how you arise way-seeking mind. He says, in our everyday life, we have to feel some contradiction. You have to feel it. You have to feel the paradox of it all the way through, moment after moment. Stop thinking if you feel some contradiction, there's something wrong. Sit in the center of it. That's what we're doing today. I'm a Buddha. You're a Buddha. Waking up to be Buddha. So I sit my little self down in Buddha's lap, and we breathe in and out together. He says, when you're younger, you think you can act as you want. Free will, you think you're in charge, right? I mean, it's like that you think you can choose something good. Probably where my son's question came out of, that you could choose something good and then the bad would just go away. Or that you could, we all want that, we hope that, right? That's inside of all of us. And that by working on something good, you feel good enough. But he says, Suzuki Roshi says, there's always some uneasiness. Some dark feeling is always following you in your life. This doesn't quite feel like this is all of it. Turn it, and then you turn it, and it turns you. By nature, human beings have good and bad sides. Half and half. By nature, human beings have a good and a bad side, half and half. When you want to do something good, at the same time, you don't want to do something good, and then he laughs and laughs. If you want to get up early, at the same time you say, I think I want to stay in bed a little bit longer. It's pretty warm and cozy here. Yes is 50% and no is 50%. It's like, what if we just could finally get that for just a moment and laugh and cry? I want it, I don't want it. Why want what I want? And what I really want is to be here with all of you and with the world, and to live this life that I know and taste with eyes and doors and hearts wide open. And he says what we usually do is we do good things 50% and bad things 50% or more. And then he says bad things 60% and laughs, and good things 40%. But what happens is you become more and more conscientious. You become more and more awake. The more you reflect on yourself, the more you become conscientious. Dogen says, study the self, know the self. That's our job. Study the self. That's what you do on the cushion. Oh, I got a self. Make friends with it. Be curious. And then he says, the more you do that, which we all have the experience of, you'll feel and have the sense that you're doing 99% bad things. I thought, wow, I can't believe when I study the self, I really am confused. Dogen says, to know you're deluded is to be a Buddha. Study it. It's not a matter of what is good and what is bad. It is a matter of our human nature. See, I like quoting Suzuki Roshi on this because he's sort of like, we think he's a kind of authority, and if I said this to you, you'd probably think, yeah, well that's good, but that's just Chris. I think, Suzuki Roshi is saying this for goodness sakes. And we can find, but Dogen said this. Buddhas know they're deluded. Buddha said this. It's like, study yourself, but study the sutras too, for goodness sakes. When we realize this fact, good and bad, in our everyday life, based on our human nature, you have to wonder what we should do. What's the appropriate response? If you realize this fact, you will not be fooled by anyone. You may have some pleasure, something will make you happy in the world, but you can never fool yourself completely. You cannot deceive yourself when you understand the duality and what it is to be a human being in a human body. Then he says, some people, if you think you have perfect social conditions, if we can change the structure of society, please try to change the suffering of the world. And pay attention, like the article says, we're jacking ourselves all over the place with excitement, disappointment, got it, don't got it, you're bad, I'm wrong, I'm right, no, I'm right, I'm sure I'm right. Keep sitting down in the center of it. Says, as our human culture, society makes some advancement, the more we'll develop difficulties simultaneously. AI, it's like, Then he says, some people think spiritual culture, being a good spiritual person, we should make some progress, because material progress doesn't make any sense at all. We do that, right? And then we get disappointed there too. But strictly speaking, as long as we have human nature, it is impossible to acquire or to obtain a perfect idealistic spiritual culture in our human world. And way-seeking mind is we just keep making effort to be it. To make the choice. You get a choice in this moment. Do I want to be my selfish, self-centered person? Yep. No. Just study it. And then you take a breath and you look at the other person, or you feel the world, and you can feel it. There's a different impulse. So we're training ourselves over and over, and we're helping each other. I'm aware of David on the screen, who's in October going to take priest vows. Not because he's special. David knows he's not special. I think he's special, but yeah, he knows. Some of us need. I wear all this because it helps me remember. It's like I put this on and I think, you all think I'm a good person, and I am. But I need lots of help to remember. Some of us need little vows. Some of us need big vows. It doesn't. Whoever you are is completely perfect. But there is something I remember after I was ordained, is I thought in some ways it's traditions where you get to walk around like this all the time. Like if you're used to be Catholic priests or nuns, you wear your habit. You act different. It's harder now, I think, where everybody just wears normal clothes, and it's wonderful. It's equalizing. But it's why we do this, and we do the forms, and we wear the rakasus, and it all just reminds us what we really want. It's all here to help. Suzuki Roshi says our study is not to improve this actual fact that we have good and bad, half and half in human nature, but we should not try to improve this actual, but we should not try to improve, it's a double negative. Even Buddha accepted the truth. There is suffering. And he started Buddhism based on this fact. He accepted this truth. If you try to change this truth, you are not a Buddhist anymore. There is good and there is bad. There is suffering. There is suffering, and there is a cause of suffering. And there is release from suffering. There's a choice moment after moment, and there's a path. This is way-seeking mind. Just continue our life step by step, helping each other. Because we have good and bad, half and half, we can help. If all of us is good, then it is impossible to be of help. It's kind of arrogance, right? Poor you. You are so deluded. If you only knew what right is. It's a good thing we have good nature and bad nature. If we have something to work on, it's enough. If we have something to work on, it's enough. Because we have good and bad, half and half, because we can find out some way to help others, then we can enjoy ourselves. That's where joy comes from. So the way-seeking mind takes this, not only our idealistic world, the way we think it should be, or the way it shouldn't be, but also the actual world, including flowers and stones and stars and moon. The true way-seeking mind will be realized, will be actualized in deep scale where there is a human being, where there is sun and stars and land and ocean and fish and grass and birds. And without this big, big area where we can live, where we can have various problems, we cannot survive in this world. Climate and environmental crisis is letting us know that. Big problem. Big possibilities. Pay attention. We forget the big area where we have absolute freedom. We just seek for something for the sake of ourselves, just for a human being. So we have to suffer our nature, which has good and bad 50-50. If we realize, if we are aware of this big world, this big, open, big heart mind that includes everything, and where we live and where everything is completely involved, then you have big, big mind and you have big, big trust. This is way-seeking mind. This, I think, is the most important thing. This is why we do this, is we ground ourselves over and over again in trust, belief. We entrust ourselves. We have moments of tasting how big and open and true this world that we can't even begin to give a word to, how big love is. I think that's our job as Buddhists and practitioners in this world right now. And then please go do something. But whatever you do, do it with this awareness. Keep grounding in it, because it will help everybody around you who's scared or angry, or including yourself. This is our job. So actually, the way-seeking mind means the conviction to fly as a bird flies in the air, to enjoy our being in this vast world of freedom, enjoying our nature as part of it. That's where joy arises. Not as a spiritual bypass, but just the joy. Suzuki Roshi said just to be alive is enough. Fully, completely, inclusively. There we have no anxiety because you don't know where we go. We don't know where we go, and we know there is nowhere to go. Life and death is not our problem anymore. Our nature of good and bad is not blocked anywhere. So we practice Zazen every day. Really good to have a home practice. Practice every day. You can go online, Debbie and Joni, you can practice in your home. Affirm, affirm, like 0, 0. To appear in this world means we should disappear from this world. Drop body and mind. If you were not born in this world, there would be no need to die. So to be in this world is to die and to disappear. If we can do something good means we can do something bad. It is true. Every person. Don't be bothered by it. Don't be bothered by it. Don't be fooled by it. This kind of contradiction, this homemade contradiction, you made it, some contradiction in your life, setting yourself up against yourself and human nature, setting yourself up against the world. Without a bad habit, you can't improve it. It's necessary, and he laughs, to have a bad habit. Oh, you are doing such a good job. I'll bet you have 1 or 2 bad habits. The point is not whether it is right or wrong. The point is constant effort or way-seeking mind. Okay. Just as a little help from Pema Chodron, here's a Bodhichitta practice that I've kind of edited a little bit, but I think we get the point. We haven't already. It says, Pema Chodron offers a method for generating love and compassion for all beings. Once you understand your own suffering, you understand it's the suffering of every human being, past, present, and future. And then Bodhichitta arises, and you want to do something. You want to help. Naturally, spontaneously. So, just take a breath, meditation posture. Just follow along. Sometimes guided meditations, you just don't like them. You know, it's like just do breathing in and breathing out. You don't have to do this, but it's going to do you no matter what, somehow. She says, the best way to begin this practice is by thinking of a person whose suffering you feel strongly and whose happiness is very important to you. Because the thought of certain people naturally and easily awakens bodhicitta in us. We care about them, and we don't want them to suffer. And you can say, in your own words, may they be free of suffering and the root of suffering. May they enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. Send it to your heart, breath, body. then Pema tells us there are two aspects of working with bodhicitta, both of equal importance. One is connecting with the flow of bodhicitta we already feel, and the other is being awake to where that flow is blocked. So we're going to do this practice not thinking just of people we care about, but also visualizing people we don't like. Because it's really important to cultivate an unbiased, compassionate attitude toward whatever is arising. So now, if you'd like, think of an area of the world that's in great turmoil. An area where you know people and animals are suffering a lot. And when you've chosen the place, think and send. May all the men, the women, the children, the animals and plants in this place be free of suffering and the root of suffering. May they enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. And breathe this in and out. And imagine all the men, the women, the children, and the plants and animals caught in particular circumstances of suffering. Racism, climate disasters, socio and economic disparities. Maybe there's a particular form of suffering that arises for you. And please send the wish that those who are caught, bound, may they be free of suffering and the root of suffering. May they enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. Now just bring to mind an awareness, particular and general, of just a neutral feeling. All the men, women, children, plants and animals and send it out broad and wide. May they be happy, be free from suffering. May they be free of all the self-absorption that causes so much pain. May we all be free. And sometimes when we do this kind of bodhicitta practice, we touch on people who immediately awaken warm feelings in us. And other times, though, we just feel numb. And then there are times when we contact the hardness of our heart. And noticing this is very good, because it shows us where we're open and when we're closed. We should notice all of these things with compassion and loving kindness towards ourselves. Because the more we're able to feel tenderness towards ourselves, the more easily it flows to others. So right now, breathing in and out tenderness for this very being that is you. And love for the places that are open. And love and kindness and compassion for the places that are closed, or numb, or hiding. And now in your own words, allow to arise an intention, maybe a short little gatha or word, something that you can carry with you today on this path of way-seeking mind, of awakening to who we truly are and what truly is. So some encouragement, some ground. What can you come back to today? Ground and affirm your love and your practice in. And in a moment, as you come fully into the room, wherever you are, become aware, just a sense of wonder, of alive. An awareness that you have everything you need. And that everyone around you is bringing their deep bodhisattva effort. We are all supporting each other and the whole world in Indra's jewel net. We are shimmering and awakening together, leaving nothing and no one out. And then together, let's say the Bodhisattva vows. These are numberless. I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to become it.